Hello, and welcome to the AstroEnergy Astrology Show podcast with Astrologer Shelley Overton. Hi, it's Shelley, and well, let's start again. Hi, it's Shelley, and welcome to the October 16th, goodness sake, 16th, 2020 edition of the AstroEnergy Astrology Show podcast. My name is Shelley Overton. I'm an astrologer in Orlando, Florida, and I am coming to you from Orlando today, and it's quite beautiful and a little bit warm, a little bit of humidity. It's about 88 degrees right now. Anyway, this week I want to talk to you a bit about Jupiter and Aquarius and what's going on in the sky also here in our beautiful planet, on our beautiful planet. So the reason I want to talk to you about Jupiter and Aquarius, and probably Uranus too a little bit, is because that is the energy we are headed to towards the end of the year. Jupiter right now is at 19 degrees Capricorn. Pluto is at 22 degrees Capricorn, Saturn at 25 degrees Capricorn. We have Mercury at 11 degrees. I'm wondering if this is all accurate. Let me see. Yeah, it is. But why doesn't it show Mercury retrograde? This is the app I'm using. You can't see. There you go. You can kind of see it. But it doesn't show Mercury retrograde. Mercury is in fact retrograde. He retrograded on the 13th. And he's in Scorpio at 11 degrees, which, you know, that's right on my moon. That'll be interesting. Moon is at 23 degrees of Libra right now, and so is the sun. I'm going to show you that. Can you see? I'm sorry, this is the best I have right now. Moon and sun, same degree in Libra. So we'll discuss that. It's a new moon. There, you get a nice view of what's behind me. We'll have to crop this. This is not a very pretty background, but oh well. Boxes. These are all my artworks. And then we have Venus at 16 degrees Virgo. We have the nodes at 22 degrees. So really significant moment. Honestly, the nodes are the nodes of fate. They're at 22 degrees of Gemini and Sagittarius for the south node, Gemini for the north node. And that means that they are in conjunct to the degree of Capricorn that we saw with the conjunction of the nodes on the, I mean, it was everybody in Capricorn in January, on January 12th, were right there at 22 degrees of Capricorn. And of course, right now, Pluto is at that degree. So that means that they are 150 degrees apart in the sky and 30 degrees respectively for the north and south node. And that means that it is significant for the world. So today it's the 16th of October. Yes, we are probably going to be seeing more significant things happening this week because of that particular aspect. And as I've said in the past, Donald Trump has a late degree. Well, his son, I believe, is at 18 Gemini, very close to this point. And then he also has a late degree Pluto and Leo as well in his chart. And darn it, I am in full screen here. Let me reduce the screen on my computer because I actually also pulled up Joe Biden's chart because I've never really talked about Joe Biden's chart, but his chart, he's got Mars at 12 degrees of Scorpio, which says that Mercury is right next to it. And I keep telling you the degrees and the planets, but what does it mean? So Mercury, again, communications, education, transportation, technology, small pets, neighbors, siblings, and Mars in Scorpio within a degree of Mercury means action taken from communication, deciphering, breaking things down, digging deeper, finding the hidden meaning in things, analyzing. It could also be a bit of depression going on with this energy. And I've noticed because, like I've said, I have a Scorpio rising, I have Moon at Scorpio at 12 degrees, and I've also got Neptune at 15. So this Mercury in Scorpio is definitely triggering the Scorpio energy in my chart and in the first house. But what I found is, yes, it can be a little depressive, but it's the thoughts that are depressive. And I have a particular affinity lately for the haunted shows on Netflix. And I've kind of pulled away from those as I've tried to really challenge the darker nature that I have with all that scorpionic energy. I have Pluto, the ruler of Scorpio, right next to my sun. So it really is a very heavy energy in my chart. And as I've grown as a person later in my life here, I'm seeing that I want to raise my vibration. And currently, with the energy that we have right now in our world, we need everybody as much as we can to focus on positivity. That being said, of course, Scorpio energy is the end of life. It can connect to the deceased or people who have passed on. So a lot of times when we have Scorpio people, any planets in your chart that are Scorpio attract you to the mystery and the other side of life, because that is the mystery from the land of the living. Joe Biden has Mercury at 21 Scorpio. He's got the sun at 27 Scorpio, Venus at 28 Scorpio, and then he has an 11-degree Sagittarius rising, which is really fortunate that he can actually pull in some optimism and optimistic energy from that particular placement. So Sagittarius falls in his first house. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is very optimistic because Jupiter really doesn't let a lot get to it. And that means if you're a Sagittarian, have planets in Sagittarius or a good placement of Jupiter in your chart, you may be more of an optimist through these trying times. It's going to be a little bit more difficult for the Jupiterians and Sagittarians. This coming year, it'll be a mixed bag actually, but Jupiter specifically. So if your planet Jupiter is close to another planet that's significant in your chart, I have Jupiter in Taurus in the house of marriage and partnership. There aren't any other planets very close to him. I'm trying to remember, he's in Taurus. So currently it's being trined by the Capricorn stellium in my chart. And I also have lots of planets in Virgo, as I've mentioned before, but I'm sorry, I'm a little congested today. Excuse me for just a minute while I clear my throat. Okay, so yeah, those who have Sagittarius in your chart may not feel it as strongly, but those who have Jupiter close to a planet conjunction or trine or opposition are going to feel it more directly as we move forward in this year. So what happens is Jupiter is going to be, and I'll get back to Joe in a minute, but Jupiter is going to go over Pluto, which means, of course, Jupiter is trying to bring positivity to the darker side of life, to the darker thoughts. But Pluto in Capricorn is really trying to bring down the energy to a more practical, pragmatic level. He's looking for solutions. And I think, honestly, with this election, that's probably what a lot of people are doing, is they're looking for a solution. And maybe it's been a difficult year as a collective, but it's also been very difficult individually. I had some difficult news this week. I'm still waiting to kind of hear about a friend who may be very ill, but we're still waiting and hoping for good news. Anyway, Pluto is very strong in her chart as well. She's just 20 days younger than I am. So Pluto energy is just more intense and more behind the scenes and under the surface. And having Jupiter talk to Pluto will be kind of like the energy of bringing out the hidden reasons for optimism and also looking for solutions. Like I said, Jupiter brings out education and desire for understanding and lessons. Scorpio/Pluto is really looking for an answer, and therapy could be part of that answer. Surgery could be part of that answer. These are both Scorpio/Pluto modalities that can help bring about a solution. Trying to think, yeah, it's a transformational energy, very transformational energy, because Jupiter is the transformer. Pluto burns it down and rebuilds or rises from the ashes. That's the nature of Pluto. So when you have that moving on energy of Jupiter hitting Pluto, it will be an endings or transformational time. So does that mean that we are going to experience death of something? It's potentially so, but it is also transmuting energy. And that means that we take, well, the quickest way I can tell you about transmuting energy is forgiveness. So we have a situation that we've felt put out about, or we felt demeaned, or we felt burdened by. Coming into the end of the year, it will be about transforming that. And the quickest way is through forgiveness. And remember, when you forgive, it isn't really about forgiving someone else, although we do think a lot about that. It means that someone we feel has done us wrong and may very technically have done us wrong in the real world. They could have committed a crime. They could have done something horrendous to us. But energetically, and I find this really to be a fascinating way of looking at it, energetically, when somebody brings out something in us, that means that they've done something and we have a reaction. We have in that instant taken on what has happened. We emote and we empathize, or we take on the energy. In other words, this is their energy and this is our energy. When this behavior happens, we take how we look at life and take on that energy and say, oh man, this is a reaction. It's ours now. Once you react, it's yours. And you've created a cause and effect relationship, aka karma. What forgiveness does is say, I cannot have this hurting me anymore. And so I'm letting it go. And sometimes the release of that energy through forgiveness, yes, you say you forgive them. You're not really forgiving them. You're forgiving yourself for taking on that energy, for taking on the reaction, for whatever it happened in your past, made you react to that. That trigger is what you're healing. So that's how forgiveness works in a cause and effect relationship world. And, as I've said, I'm Buddhist, so that's kind of how my mind works. That's how my belief system works, is transmutation of karma. So as we go towards the end of the year, Jupiter is triggering these planets, very strong triggers, because remember, Jupiter takes 1 year to go through a sign. He's getting close to the end of Capricorn, and because we have the stellium of the Capricorn planets that have really brought out so much profound change in our world through many, many means, just Trump alone is showing us the certain behavior patterns that were endemic to our country and in the world. It's not just here, it's other countries. And yes, he's just our president, but he has triggered kind of a domino effect around the world of other countries going, well, I'm tired of being so restricted. I'm just going to say what I think. That's also Jupiter. Jupiter, Pluto combined with Saturn. That's this behavior that we've got Jupiter saying, I'm just going to call it like it is. Saturn saying, but now that you've called it, you have to own it. Why are you owning it? And Pluto saying, but why do you believe that? What is your theory? What is your dogma around why that is so in your life? And keep in mind that every one of us, while we have collective belief systems, we do have individual belief systems, and they can supersede those collective belief systems. They can say, no, I understand that has been the way it's always been. It's been okay for 50 years or 10 years or however long it is, repetitively. We don't necessarily have to believe that anymore. And because Jupiter moves along, he says, hey, what's under here? What's under here? He, like looking for something, looking for his glasses under all the clothes in the bedroom. Think of tradition as those clothes in the bedroom. He's going like this, tossing them out. They could have been neatly stacked on the bed, but if his glasses are under them, He doesn't care. He takes them and just tosses them in the air and throws them around. So guess what? Now all those neat traditional ideas and dogma are up there in chaos, thrown wherever, and they're laying in a mess on the floor. We've seen them. They're in part of our world now. And we understand them in a new way, in a new look. You know, oh, look at that. It has, you know, colors I didn't realize were so bright. You know, they're getting thrown up in the air for everyone to see. They land in the floor in a heap. Now it's chaos. Now it's Aquarius. Aquarius loves to upset the apple cart. They are the original contrarians of the zodiac. They look for dogma and hypocrisy and challenge it. Do the people who live through Aquarius or Uranus know that this is their drive? Maybe, but I don't think they always do. I think that sometimes they just see it viscerally, that that's hypocritical, and they have to show the hypocrisy. They don't always see themselves, but it's like they're driven to show the world how it is saying one thing and doing another, how it is not behaving in integrity for the collective good. And Aquarius is all about the collective good. Jupiter also has a vested interest in wanting us to understand other cultures. So the combination of Jupiter and Aquarius, which is where we're heading in December 19th, I believe is the exact date. When Jupiter hits Aquarius, it is absolutely about what are the lessons to learn from immigration, from cooperation and diplomacy of other countries, from how we integrate people into our own personal worlds, and what can we do to expand that? Jupiter's going to expand it. Then Saturn comes along, and actually Saturn gets there first. Jupiter runs over Saturn once he gets there. But Jupiter is following Saturn into Aquarius. Saturn gets there and says, what can we do to systematize the chaos? So Saturn comes into the room and goes, oh my God, the clothes are all on the floor. What happened here? Let's start picking them up. He's going to be fighting the energy of Aquarius and Jupiter, because both Aquarius and Jupiter want freedom and do not want to be told what to do, where Saturn likes to tell people what to do. Saturn rules Capricorn, and Capricorn is nothing if not enthused about ownership of everything. And this is what the lesson has been, and I've been beating this drum for a couple years now. Saturn and Capricorn, and then Pluto and Jupiter are about who you are. Stop taking ownership for everybody around you. And this gets back to what I was saying about here's a situation and here's someone else and here's you, and they create a reaction in you. Now you've transferred energy. We have owned as Capricorn, as Pluto and Capricorn since 2007 and 2008, when Pluto went into Capricorn. We've tried to own how everybody else is doing things. We've restricted people more. We have clamped down more. We have resisted more. Now we are in a time where it's time to let go of everyone else's stuff. It is not about them anymore. It's about you. It's about me individually. That's what Aquarius is about. That's what Jupiter likes. They like to be individuals, and they want the world to be cooperative, but they want their individuality. And so as we are pushing through this energy, Jupiter joining up with Pluto, which I think I mentioned it last week. I know I mentioned all these dates recently. And of course, I did not find my glasses today. They're somewhere in the chaos. I do have another pair, but they broke. And the one that works, I have misplaced. So unfortunately, I'm not able to see everything as clearly and take my time with it. But yeah, they're joining up fairly soon. I'm just going to look real quick. I'm going to blurrily eyeball my ephemeris and see if I can see Jupiter jump out. And I don't see it. Actually, I want to say it's in November. I want to say November 13th. So let me skip ahead and see if it is, in fact, closer to that date. Yes, Jupiter conjunct Pluto the 12th. So good memory. Anyway, little things that help, like Saturn in Pisces. But anyway, okay, so mid-November, we've got this energy joining. And what does that mean? November 13th is going to be very significant. Of course, it's only 10 days after the election. That may be the day that the election is decided for sure. You know, we've got a lot of shifts and changes coming, and a lot of retrograde energy turning retrograde, turning direct. Just so you know, let's see, we're here in October. Mercury just went retrograde and turns direct on election day, November 3rd. Mars turns direct on the 12th, which is honestly within hours of this conjunction of Jupiter to Pluto, which will be pretty amazing. Let me just see. Mars goes direct, excuse me, on the 13th, which is Friday the 13th. That'll be interesting as well. Mars is aggression, but Mars will be moving the last 15 degrees. I'm sorry about that. Let me just quiet. Hang on one second. Of course, I've got a very insistent child. Okay, there we go. Anyway, we are heading towards this day, 2 days actually, of Jupiter joining Pluto. So transformation, transmutation, that's the day. It is highly significant. Honestly, I know it's 3 times, but I can't remember if that's the second, or I think it's the second time they join up. And then of course, later on when Jupiter moves, let me see, retrograde next year, I think there'll be another one. Anyway, I'm not getting into that because I don't know my facts just yet about another joining of that. So it's going to be a significant time. So for you, wherever you have late degree Capricorn on that time, at that time, that is going to be a significant shift of your energy. It can be an aha moment. It can be, if you're not paying attention to the aha moments and what you truly need to be doing. Honestly, I'll just say it, it's a self-centered moment. And it's a moment where the ideology, the belief system comes right into a growth moment. So you're going to have that aha moment, or if you have not been growing spiritually, you'll have that wall you run straight into. And it's going to be that massive head on the wall, head banging moment of, aren't you getting this? Hey, McFly. So we're going to have that mid-November. And then right after that, the next day, and of course, Mars will be slowing down to go direct on the 12th when these 2 planets join up. And so then he moves forward, and he is wanting to finish off the story. Now, the story that came in when he was going through these degrees to begin with, starting in June and July, was an increased awareness of the Black Lives Matter movement. It started out, it increased over the course of this year. I think it was even coming in when COVID was coming in. There was like this dual story of so many stories: the election, COVID, everything. Anyway, what Mars is doing, it's the story around the Black Lives Matter and the police. So after he goes direct, so we have about 1 month left, and he's going to push forward with that story, the culmination. And I do see this as a time before he goes into Taurus, which will be early next year. That is really the time we're going to make headway with Black Lives Matter, and it's going to really settle in as an ideology for the collective, because we've already had the initiation, we've had the adjustment, and now we're going for the culmination before he moves into Taurus. And the other thing, I just got chills with this, what happens then is he squares the Capricorn planets. So it is really like, no, you're not listening. There has to be a change, and it will be a change with the police. It'll be a change with firefighters. It'll be a change around that story, because that story is ruled by Mars. That story is ruled by Aries. Police, aggression. I'm not saying the police are aggressive. Of course, they are through different places, but they are also helpers. And so firefighters are helpers. Anyone who's got that fire energy coming out, wherever your Aries is, excuse me, Aries is in my house of work and health. So, it's the mind and the head. Got this hair, this angel hair. It really is very fine. Anyway, yeah, so we're going to have this really strong, potent month of November. And these are only a few reasons, just the forward motion of Mars and the joining of Jupiter and Pluto. That's just one of the things. Going back to this week, and of course today, I will just tell you, and I apologize for getting this show up later, although I'm hoping to get the video podcast up today, which is right in alignment with when I always get it up on Friday nights anyway. But the audio podcast, I have, like I said, 4 computers, and it is, I mean, I mentioned it last week. I know it probably bores you to hear repetition, but this whole week has been trying to find a way to get rid of the 20,000 photographs I have on my phone and my computer, and various others that are on different dead computers. I'm trying to consolidate, and I can't do a thing. I can't upgrade my computers until they're all off and safe. And I can't upgrade my computers until I figured out a couple of them. The one I need most is, it just shut off because I plugged in this computer. It's number 5. And when I unplugged it, the plug went into the surge protector and shut off the other computers. So it's been a pretty stressful Mercury energy for me. Anyway, moving away from that. So let's go back to Joe Biden. I'm just going to talk a little bit. I'm a little bit hoarse. Again, like I said, I'm a bit congested today. Yeah, both of my pets have had their share of not feeling well recently. Also, I think my youngest cat, she's 4, ate something overnight, and she would not even move to come get food. She laid in the middle of the backyard in the fluffy grass, and it was just like, no, I'm not having any of it. And she's feeling better this afternoon, thankfully, but I don't think she's eaten much today. And then my other cat, Cupid, is, he's just kind of getting old and a little bit doddering. I've noticed he seems a little bit kind of weaker and not as on his game lately. So yeah, if your pets are having a reaction to this energy right now, just be really loving to them. Also realize that people and pets can be acting out of sorts. They might not be behaving the way they normally do. And that means that they're probably energetically struggling through this energy. Late Capricorn is very heavy energy. Remember, the last degrees are settling in and getting ready for the shift of energy. And it's like the peak resistance time. So the roots are really resisting on the end of the tree being yanked out. We're changing the structure. The tree's roots are, they're the last thing to go when that tree is uprooted. And they're fighting back a little bit right now. So it can feel really heavy. It can feel like our whole worlds have been in chaos and upended. I personally have this energy directly opposite my Mars, and when it goes into Aquarius, it'll be right opposite my Venus. So it's my desires and my ability to act. And let me tell you, it hit my ability to act first. So there is a certain energy. If you have a late degree Cancer Mars, oh my gosh, it's like nothing you do comes to fruition right now. It's been really frustrating. And so I have tremendous sympathy for anybody with late degree Libra planets, Aries planets, or Cancer planets. And then of course, those who have late degree Capricorn have gotten hit the hardest overall because their lives are completely being upended. Anyway, not trying to be Debbie Downer here, but I'm trying to share the knowledge that I have. And we have Mercury in Scorpio, so I guess I'm more inclined right now to tell you what the harsh truth is of what's going on. And really, it's meant to help get through these harder times. And speaking of which, I guess I do want to kind of sidetrack here for a second, do a little business, so to speak. I just posted a blog about a week ago, and it's basically all of the week's horoscopes through the end of the year. So if you would like to get my blogs from my website, angeliczodiac.com, please sign up. I've been going through all of my admin and double checking my subscribers, making sure everything's accurate in that range. So if you are interested in finding out more about what I write about and when I am doing other events, I haven't done a whole lot of other events, but I did do a podcast with my friend Mary Ellen I will try and post and let you know. And I know I really want to get going more with the blogs and keeping in touch with the people who follow my podcast. My computer situation has really thwarted me recently, so I do see that getting better towards the end of November. Keep in mind, Mercury's retrograde goes back into Libra pretty soon. Let me just look and tell you when that happens. Wow, I didn't realize my voice was going to have such a hard time today. The 28th, roughly, of October, we'll have Mercury in Libra, which I personally like that energy because it's going to be a little bit lighter. It's an air sign. And then he'll go back into Scorpio in November. And since I brought it up, I'll tell you when he goes back into Scorpio. Actually, I take it back. It's going to be, oh no, I take my taking back. Are you keeping up here? I know, it's strange, the 10th. So 10th of November from my blurry vision of memories. So 10th of November, you can expect Mercury going into Scorpio again, and he's there till the beginning of December. So yeah, it's going to be a really intense November, my friends. But yeah, we've got some Sagittarius, Mercury and Sagittarius in December. The travel will be done the first 2 weeks, but I would honestly recommend, if you're going to travel the first week. And even then is a little questionable. My daughter went on a trip to Minnesota. I just picked her up last night. So she was there for 4 or 5 days. And she always manages to travel on Mercury changing direction or Jupiter aspects, or like all the times when I'm like, why do you have to travel on this day? I'm so stressed out. And it's always when she ends up traveling. So I expect she'll probably be traveling mid-December, either to see her dad or in one of 2 places. And so, yeah, either Minnesota or South Florida. But we have a lot coming up. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Joe Biden before we're done, because I want to do some charts. If you are listening to the podcast and would like me to use your chart on this podcast and decipher it, I would love to do that. I don't have anyone calling in right now. And so it's really a great interactive part of the podcast that I used to do. And because I'm not taking calls online right now, I would really like if you sent me an email or sign up on the website and shoot me a message through that. And I'll try and get your chart on the podcast next week. So yeah, Joe Biden, he's got that 12 degrees Mars. He's got Mars, Mercury, Sun, and Venus all in Scorpio. For him, it's in his 12th house. So the 12th house is the hidden, but it's also ruled by Neptune. It's ruled by Pisces energy. And so it's a visceral knowingness, like a wise person. Because it's Scorpio, he has suffered a lot of loss in his life. He knows death. He knows the value of life. And, he's just got this energy of all of the quicker moving planets for Joe Biden. So, and the lights. So Sun, Venus, Mercury, Mars, they're all the fastest moving planets in our solar system, with the exception of the moon. And the moon is at 0 degrees Taurus. So he's got this strong energy in Pluto energy, and really digging deep and understanding on a deep visceral life level the value of people. Because remember, Scorpio and Pluto are about values. They're about what we see as valuable in ourselves and to others, where Taurus is more, let me put it another way. Taurus shows us the value associated to identity, where Scorpio shows us our value as it relates to the collective or other people. And so he's got this Scorpio energy really strong in his chart. He's got Neptune at 1 degree of Libra, which is his ideal way of interacting, and it's in the 11th house of the collective and community. So he ideally wants to help people. It's not surprising. Neptune in Libra is a real strong energy of the social worker and someone who really will give their all to other people. And then it's in the Aquarius house. So keep in mind that it's the water planet in an Aquarius house of air in a sign Libra, which is also air. So he's got this idea-based drive in his chart. And So his ideal situation for what he has to offer the collective, the upper half of the chart, is about balance and cooperation. He's really looking, I'm sorry, I got a tickle on my nose. He's really looking to combine how we connect and integrate. He's also got Jupiter in Cancer, so he's expanding the energy of home and family, and it's in the Scorpio house, it's in the 8th house, so he wants to expand the sense of home and homeland. Saturn for him is in Gemini. Again, we have Donald Trump with Sun in Gemini, so Joe Biden creates a restriction or a structure around some energy that Trump has identified with. So Trump's identity is the duality and communicative duality of life, aka storytelling, or, pardon my harsh language, but lying. Saturn means that there's a restriction for Joe Biden around how he communicates, and it can cause stutters, it can cause trepidation or miscommunication at times, or faulty communication, like in a way when he says things, especially when Jupiter is in the partnership area, when he misspeaks and hurts people's feelings or doesn't completely understand the minutia. And then having Moon in Taurus can also be a difficult time integrating the words. And that's because Taurus falls in the 12th house of Gemini. So whatever area, like his Saturn in Gemini, means that he is a communicator and he is an educator. That's what Gemini does. And so he has that energy there. Let me just once again clear my throat. I'm so sorry. Okay, so yeah, his career, Saturn, shows that he wants to communicate with other people. He wants to do both sides of the aisle, honestly. And so I do think he can bring that to fruition. Uranus is also very close. So he has Uranus at 2 degrees of Gemini and Saturn at 9 degrees of Gemini. Excuse me. Both are retrograde, which means they have something to learn in and of themselves about cooperation and communication and integration. So Uranus is the idea of something and how the creative idealism. So looking to invent, very inventive. And Saturn is, and interestingly, having Saturn in the 7th house of marriage and partnership combined with Uranus, it's like he understands the collective, which is Uranus, and he's ready to make some type of structure around the need to integrate the collective. So that's part of his story in his chart as an individual. Again, Jupiter in his house of marriage and partnership, he lost a wife, and that is seen with having Jupiter transformative in the 8th house ruled by Pluto in Cancer, home and family, and mothers and women, and it is his partner. So his midheaven is Virgo. He is about service, and it is probably an energy where we will see a lot of travel and a lot of connection to people of other cultures. He's got the 9th house, I want to say, yeah, the 9th house begins in Virgo for him, and his midheaven is also Virgo. So, you know, really traveling and trying to understand and teach based on cultures he's picked up from other places. And actually his chart, with the exception of the moon, is completely focused on the upper half of the zodiac, which means he is a public figure and he came into this life to be of service to the public, Virgo at the midheaven. Currently though, he's got all the planets transiting the lower half of the individual, the I, in his chart. And so what's interesting about this chart is the majority, not all of it, but the majority of his chart is reversed. So usually we see this with Libra on the horizon, and like Libra, Scorpio, anything where you have a later degree, a later zodiac sign on the horizon when you were born, that puts all of the personal planets in the upper half, which is the interpersonal section, or the place where we learn about others and the collective, and that's all the I. So it can mean that you really can shift your identity to what happens with the group. And then with him, he's got kind of that energy of having all the collective on the bottom half of his chart, with the identity and the interpersonal, the me chart on the upper half. But he's got a lot of interesting energy with the slower moving planets, which tend to be the transpersonal planets, the ones that are connected into the collective, in the upper right quadrant, which is Gemini. I just went blank on that. Gemini, Cancer, Leo. He's got them in those personal areas, but they're interpersonal houses, even though they're personal signs. They're interpersonal, or transpersonal, excuse me, transpersonal planets, which mean the collective, interpersonal individual signs, but the transpersonal houses. And then all the quick moving personal planets are in the 12th house for him, which means there is a drive to be an older, wise individual. It's interesting that he's making this final push for presidency in his late 70s, or mid to late 70s, because that really is the end of life area where all of his energy is driven. He's having that lit up right now. Mercury is giving him a voice. It's right on his Mars, and it's giving him the drive to say, this is my vision and this is the solution I see. And that's kind of what his chart is showing. I don't know, for those of you who are of a different political persuasion, I've tried to keep this fairly balanced, and I've given a lot of time to Trump, so I'm giving some to Joe Biden now too. Anyway, there you go for a little eyeball of his chart. He's got Moon in Taurus, which means he does care about money. Any Taurian energy in your chart is where you really are focused, and even to the point of fixation on money. And he is a more traditional person when it comes to how he expresses the working ethic, because Taurus in the house of work and health is about a work ethic and about plodding along and doing it in process and not rushing into something. So he will do the process. He will take his time with things, and he needs to take his time. That makes him feel better about it. Uranus and Gemini will make him quick-minded, and he understands relationships between people very rapidly. And again, he is an innovator when it comes to transpersonal relationships, people of other cultures, people of other minds, and just being in groups and working as a group-minded person. His chart really thrives on the group-minded work ethic, and that we're all a team and we work as a team. So there you go. Anyway, I hope you have a good week. Let me just check real quick and see if there's anything that I haven't touched on. Oh, the new moon. I didn't really talk about that. It just happened today, and it's in Libra at 22 degrees. I did kind of talk about the nodal energy today. Again, we have the nodes at 22. We've got Pluto at 22, and we have the new moon at 22. So it is a really powerful new moon for arranging interpersonal relationships, or transpersonal collective relationships, and social work. It's good for understanding and making major shifts around relationships. That doesn't always mean it's going to be easy or friendly or fun. I'm going to just pull a card here for you. I've been pulling cards a lot lately for myself, and I really enjoy it. So I'm going to go grab my deck and pull a card for us before I say goodbye. So this deck, whoa, missed the chair. This deck is actually a number of decks. I've got two of them in this one. I like to combine my decks. And these are angel cards, both of them. They're both Hay House. One is Doreen Virtue, and the other one is Colette Baron Reed. So I'm just going to pull a card out, and I think this one is Doreen Virtue. And guess what? Trust. It's time to trust. And you've got it backwards. There, no, I'm kidding. Trust. So I've been getting that a lot. Truth and trust. And that is for your soul, to know that it's going to be okay. It will work out. There is a reason. I absolutely believe that everything happens for a reason. And even though this has been a difficult year for everyone, including myself, I know that when we work through the issues, it's going to be a beautiful 10 of Cups, brighter day kind of day. So anyway, that's all for this week. And thank you for having patience. Please do have more patience with me while I go through this Mercury retrograde and really get my computers renovated and up and running properly. I will always dedicate myself to getting you this information. And if you want to contribute in any way, you can go to my YouTube channel. Just follow the link on my angeliczodiac.com page, and you can see that. Also, I know I've mentioned it a couple times. I mentioned it last week about art. I'm going to show you this week. I don't think I drew this from last week, but this is this week's art. So I'm looking forward to painting this. Remind me if you want. Hopefully I'll remember next week to show you what that looks like painted. And you can check out my artwork and earrings. I don't have any earrings on today, but I've been making them like crazy. I'll show you a pair I was going to wear. These are really cute. They've got little smiley faces on them and handmade paper beads. So anyway, enough of that sales. Go to shelleyoverton.com, SHELLEY Overton, OVERTON, and you can see my art and you can see my earrings and have links to other art sites, including Astrology, astroart.net. And that's all the ad I'm going to give you. And I hope you have a wonderful week. Please keep your chin up. Be there for other people who are having a bit of a struggle, and take care. Bye.
You have been listening to the AstroEnergy Astrology Show. If you would like to get a private reading with Shelley, please contact her through angeliczodiac.com or at so@angeliczodiac.com. You can arrange a reading through the Angelic Zodiac page at facebook.com as well. Check out Angelic Zodiac on Instagram for up-to-date information on events, discounts, blogs and planetary transits at Angelic Zodiac 1 on Instagram. If you would like to see Shelley's art, shelleyoverton.com, or for astrology art, go to astroart.net. Music provided by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. Other music will be credited within the show. Advice given in the program is intended for entertainment purposes only. Join us here next week for more of the AstroEnergy Astrology Show podcast. You can find us on iTunes and Google Play, and where podcasts are accessed.